Welcome back to America Decides. The Supreme Court heard oral arguments today in a case that may impact hundreds of Capitol riot defendants and possibly former President Trump. The justices are taking a closer look at the scope of a federal obstruction statute used to prosecute many of those cases, but not all. CBS News congressional correspondent Scott MacFarlane covered the argument at the Supreme Court today. Scott, summarize the legal question and your impressions of today's arguments.
Very little discussion of rioting or rioters, no discussion of Donald Trump. This focused on one of the charges brought against 350-plus January 6 defendants and against Donald Trump in his 2020 election conspiracy special counsel case. That charge is obstruction of an official proceeding. You see there, roughly 1 in 3 or 4 of the defendants faces that charge. Prosecutors have argued successfully over the past 3 years that these defendants obstructed the official electoral count on January 6th. But one of the defendants, a former police officer charged with being part of the mob, successfully appealed, saying that charge doesn't quite fit. That charge was created after the Enron scandal in 2002 and is more suitable for financial crimes or the destruction of documents, not for official congressional proceedings. The Supreme Court took up the matter today and with a series of 90 minutes of questions, showed its concern that maybe this charge is too broad and not applicable in January 6 cases. Here's the bottom line, Major. If the court strikes down this charge before it finishes its business in June, dozens, if not hundreds of defendants could have charges dropped, prison terms reduced, or their cases further delayed or reviewed. It's just going to bottleneck an already saturated courthouse and release some inmates early.
And there's an important distinction where former President Trump is involved, as I understand it, Scott, because prosecutors in that case say that the fake electors does fall more cleanly into this document obstruction process. True?
If they're arguing this is a document crime, not a mob attack, well, Donald Trump's allegations are a document crime, partly, that there were false paperwork submitted or false electors that were attempted to be submitted on January 6th. So the special counsel has been bullish, saying no matter what the court rules here, I'm going to plow forward with what really is 2 different charges, Major: obstruction of an official proceeding against Donald Trump and conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding against Donald Trump. But you can just feel it in the air. If this court goes against this charge, you just sense it's going to delay things further. And that case is already on a knife's edge if they want to get the trial in before November.
Scott, another topic, the future of Ukraine aid. I spoke yesterday with Ro Khanna, California Democrat, about the possibility that Speaker Mike Johnson could bring to the floor something akin to a loan to Ukraine, not direct aid. I asked if he would support it. Let's take a quick listen. What is your attitude about something Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, has talked about, which is a loan to Ukraine as opposed to aid?
Better than nothing. I mean, if that's the only thing we can get, let's move in that direction. I mean, I think from my understanding of talking to the people at the State Department, at the NSC, we need the aid. The loans aren't going to be enough.
Scott, what is the status of Ukraine aid and the protections or lack of protections around the future of a Speaker Johnson speakership?
Really, this seems to be an opportunity for the Speaker to find a way to satisfy his further right, hardliner Republican conference members who don't want to fund Ukraine, while also managing to get the aid through with Democratic votes and the votes of other Republicans. This is a way to do it and get it back to the U.S. Senate. The Senate does seem to have an open mind, but they've already put forward their own bill that funds Ukraine, funds Israel. So this could cost time, could cost the Speaker his job.
Scott MacFarlane on Capitol Hill, as always. We thank you.